Today, I'm going to show you how to use Fusion 360's sheet metal working environment to model a large-scale leather pattern. Alright, so we're going to pick back up where we left off in part 1, and we're going to mirror this half of a backpacking bag across to the other side and create the rest of the straps and pockets. So this is not a beginner's tutorial. You're pretty much just going to follow along as I'm modeling this. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is come up here and create mirror, and I'm going to mirror bodies. I'm going to select just the body of that main pocket, and this is why we offset the plane in the beginning, because now it is twice the width. So this is actually two different pieces. So now we're going to come up here into the solid environment, combine those two bodies. There we go. Back to the sheet metal world. Now we're going to get these pieces across there. Create mirror. This time we want it to make a whole new piece of leather. So component. There's our open pocket, our main body, and the support piece. I want to bring all those over to the other side. And voila. Now we've got our bag pattern with the mirrored stitches on each side. And we can start modeling the rest of our piece from there. So there's actually some alterations I'd like to make on here. I want some flanges to come off the top there. So that's going to be our main side piece. I'm going to create a flange, and I want that to just come in to make it so my stuff doesn't fall out. I think I'm going to come in about, let's go with the 4 inches. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now, something I'm realizing right here is that this side piece and this side piece aren't acting as the same piece. So I think I'm actually going to go back, and I'm going to get rid of this one. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to make a copy instead, because I really want those to stay the same. So create copy, and select the pivot point, and for this one it's going to be right in the middle of everything. And we're going to do make sure you hit that little checkbox first if you haven't used this feature yet. Then you can grab that. No, I didn't get the right face. I'm just going to say cancel. There we go, make sure I get it right in the middle. There we go. So now I've got some pieces that when I come in here and if all goes right, if I want to change this flange length out to like 4.5, it's gonna change them on both sides. And I also want to round those over on the top, modify and fillet. There we go. Some quick fillets on the top, and they automatically mirrored across. There we go. So I'm liking the way that's looking so far. I think I'm gonna make an entire different piece for the back flap, as this piece is already about 50 inches long. So I'm going to do a complete new component. All right, so I really do just want this to come straight off of here. So I need to figure out a way to get the flange to start there. But you see how the flange wants to come off at this this angle. So that's where I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to do it right on this back surface. There we go. So now I've got like a piece on the back here that I should be able to use to create a flange. And I already went ahead and projected the sketch or the stitch holes into it. I'm just going to come to the side, make sure it's stacking on the back. And there we go. And I can start making my flange off of there to start to actually create the rest of the bag. That's probably that. Actually, I'm just going to bring it out just a little farther. You got to remember when you're working with fusion and leather, they made this for metal, And it's not really meant to work with something that's like a flexible thing. So you can really get pretty loose with your modeling, just kind of dragging stuff around. Don't feel like you have to get everything just perfectly lining up or joining with things like you would with machining. It's really a nice freeing experience where you can just kind of play around with everything and make yourself some shapes. And I think I want to make that kind of like a shapely piece. So let's go ahead and create a sketch on there and cut some of that material away. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and E for extrude. And I'm going to have to go back and change that. There we go. And I can bring that back. And if I want, I'm going to go ahead and say distance to object. And I'm just going to go right to the back of this piece of material so that it knows I only want to cut through that part. There we go. So now we've got a bag with a cover on the top. And I'm going to need to do some stitch holes along the back there, but you know, that part right there is already going to be carried over, so I'm just going to do that later. You guys already got on to how to do the stitch holes. I want to get into making this pocket on the front, so I'm going to create a new component. And I'm going to start by just creating a sketch right on the front of this material. And this is going to be like a big bulged opening in the front so I can put my sleeping bag and stuff in there. So like most shapes, I kind of start with a rectangle center point. And I'm not entirely sure how big I want it to be. Let's say probably I had noted 8 by 6. All right, so that's going to be the opening actually that I'm gonna push through here. So I'm gonna come up back into this main environment, E for extrude, and I'm gonna move this back through there. And we got a hole in our backpack, and I'm gonna start using that to create this front opening into it. I didn't like the way that was turning out. I'm going to create a whole different sketch here. Just go ahead and make them both totally independent of each other. I'm going to project the geometry of just the lines that I want. Just that one, and that one. There we go. And I'll use that to create a flange. That looks better. All right, I'm going to come in and make sure it's on the inside. Nope. There we go. And I'm going to do this as a two-sided one because I want to come back through this material. The thickness of my material so that I can create a flange off of there on the inside. And then the front, let's go with 3 inches. There we go. You know, I actually want this pocket, I think, to be on the front, so I'm going to go back in and change this sketch around. Double click to reopen it. P for project. There we go. Now I created it where it's just a loop that's going to come around and barely touch at the bottom. I'm going to have to update that flange now that I changed the sketch. But I shouldn't have to change any of the other parameters. There we go. So now it's a pocket with a spot for a seam at the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and start creating some flanges from there. Click on flange. Let's do the front one first because it's the easiest. It's just sitting right here in front. Should be able to grab all of these. Well, I thought this one was going to be the easy one. I'm not sure what it's doing, so I'm going to go ahead and do this in like 2 separate pieces here. See if that works. There we go. Well, that was a pain in the butt. I had to actually just create half of the bag pattern and then mirror it across and create the other half, which I guess isn't that big of a deal since you just watched me do the same thing with the rest of the bag, but I thought it was going to be super easy. For some reason it wasn't. And now I'm going to come in here and try and do the same thing for this for this back portion. Back to the sheet metal environment, create some flanges. So I didn't push this back far enough through there, it looks like. So I'm going to actually probably go back in there and change that extrusion, or that flange creation. I'm going to shut off some of these other pieces that aren't really what I'm working with right now, and see if that'll help me with the process. That's better. You know, it was just that I was selecting the wrong line. I am just trying to grab these outside lines and stuff, so I think I was just selecting the wrong one. Let's go ahead and just run through that. Alright, there we go. Turn that main piece back on just to make sure that my piece is coming in on the inside here of it. And you can see how that's going to stitch together. It's going to be like a pocket coming in on the inside. Now let's go ahead and do the piece on the front. There we go. So now we've got a sketch of a rectangle around the face. Turn that into a flange, grabbing my two little pieces there. And from there I'm going to do some fillets around the edges. And, you know, I can come back and do the stitch pattern later, actually, after I start to get a feel for the size of the pocket and stuff. When you're just creating an idea, don't forget that you're in a creative state. You can kind of just freestyle it and enjoy the shape that you're making and try and play around with what looks good and what doesn't. And it's going to start to form in front of you. You're going to really be able to start to get a feel for what your project's going to look like before you ever, cut into a piece of leather, which for me, that is really beneficial because I can only afford so much. Alright, so now we've got it coming inside this this piece here, and I want to have a like a C-shaped cutaway on the top here, like a backpacking backpack, and also like a curved zipper into there. So let's go ahead and just create a sketch for that and extrude it away. Alright, now I've got like an opening there. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm not that big of a fan of it. I kind of might put one all the way around the outside here, but I'm just going to roll with it since I already created it. Pull that back through there. If I'm worried about the distance, I can tell it a distance. Now we've got a big frowny backpack. And from there I can keep adding some components. I think at this point I might actually go to my appearance. So I'll do that really quick before we end this tutorial. Appearance. I'm going to scroll down to leather and cloth. Click on leather. And I like using this matte tan. Wonder if I could. No, I guess not. I'm just going to drag that onto all my components. If there's an easier way to drag these on there, yeah, I'd definitely like to hear it in the comments section below, like a bulk drag, because I always end up missing one of my components when I'm getting ready to render it. There we go. So now I can kind of get a feel for what it looks like, and you can come up in the render environment, and it's gonna make it a perspective view for you to kind of give a look at what your project's looking like, just to get a feel for it before you keep moving on and making more features and additions to it. So this is where I'm going to stop with you guys for now, and who knows, maybe I'll even do one more. But I hope this was helpful for you, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can catch the next few videos that I put out. And if you've got any questions, please ask me in the comments section, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. And until next time, as always, stay creative.